All right, with no further ado, we have some people to introduce, and you know them well, you love their games. We're going to give them an introduction anyway, and we're going to go right down the roster here. So first, clocking in, we have a cinematic actor you might know from voice acting such as Dino Riders, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Tailspin, Captain Planet, Mr. Bogus, Spider-Man, Eek the Cat, Clifford the Big Red Dog, Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Avengers, and so many more. He was also the original voice of Kaneda in the original dub, English dub, of Akira. Yeah. Tetsuo! Right, him. Yeah, the best English dub, by the way. And he was also in a little game called Metal Gear Solid. He played Liquid Snake, apparently. Yeah. So give it up, everybody, for Mr. Cam Clarke.
Cam Clarke, come on down. Come on down, Cam.
Okay, Cam is on a stealth mission at the moment. He will be here in a minute. Thank you. All right, so we're going to skip ahead here. Another legend of the industry. To read all of his credits, it would take the entire panel. So we're going to go through the highlights real quick. Again, so from Animaniacs, Avatar, Cow and Chicken, Fantastic Four, Freakazoid, Mickey Mouse Works, My Life as a Teenage Robot, The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest. Yeah, thank you. Yes. Spider-Man, the animated series, Teen Titans, Initial D, Final Fantasy VII, Advent Children. Thank you. Thank you. Bleach, Naruto, so many more. Video games such as League of Legends, Sonic the Hedgehog, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII, Kingdom Hearts, No More Heroes, Armored Core 4, and so many more games, including Metal Gear Solid as Raiden. You know him, you love him. It is the one and only Quinton Flynn. All right. And I think we have one more guest. Hold on, let me just check my... Yeah, okay. You might know this gentleman. Legendary screenwriter of The Scorpion King, X-Men the movie, X2 the movie, Watchmen, which is also the greatest comic book movie of all time. Yeah, I said it. Cinematic actor of things you might know. Okay, so he's Major Dad, Guyver, Dark Hero, Drive, The Flash, Turning Red, so many things. Okay, video game actor from Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, Star Wars Old Republic, Marvel Heroes, The Long Dead. Thank you. Thank you. Give it up. Super Bomberman R, Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, awesome game. Yakuza, Like a Dragon, and he is the one and only Big Boss, a.k.a. Solid Snake, a.k.a. Naked Snake, the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Mr. David Hayter.
Hayter, come on down.
Also, let's reintroduce Mr. Cam Clarke. He was indisposed a moment ago there. He didn't feel all the love when you guys cheered and clapped. So let's give it up one more time for
Come on down.
The always punctual Cam Clarke. Liquid. Liquid!
No, see, this is the problem with this guy. Nothing but trouble.
I'm impressed. That's called upstaging.
That's called chutzpah.
Guys, we really appreciate the time. We want to get right to it. We know we have a lot of questions
I got to be honest with you. This is all the time we have. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, and good night. Thanks.
You know, actually, I have it in my contract that I don't have to sit on the stand with you-know-who.
Stop it, my man.
You guys can just keep going. This is cool.
Right?
Guys, we really appreciate you guys taking the time to come out and talk with us. This is great. We all love your work. We want to start off with a quick question here, and this is probably something you always get asked, but we want to know, when you start explaining to somebody who's never met you before, they have no idea what it is you do, they have no idea of your profession, how do each of you go about telling somebody what you do?
I like long walks on the beach. I'm a Scorpio.
He is.
And I just want to be held.
I was not expecting that.
Well, that's,
no one
and
ever-
that's why it works every time.
It works with Q anyway.
Yeah, well, because I'm a star, baby. Yeah.
I tell people I'm a screenwriter and a voice actor. And it's not terribly creative, but it is accurate.
I think that's amazingly creative.
And
Wait
then
a minute,
people
but you're
say,
saying
"Oh,
because
you're-"
you're a screenwriter, you can't think of a better way to explain being a screenwriter?
No, it's just that I don't want to get into a whole thing about it if they don't care. You know, if somebody says, "Oh, what, have you done anything I've seen?" and then I'm like, "Yeah, I did this and this and this." And if they're impressed, then great. And if they're like, "I don't know what that is," then we move on and I ask them what they do for a living.
And that's why he says, I'm a screenwriter.
That's right.
And it's why with the game that was done, how many years ago did we start this?
25 years
25
ago.
years ago. If someone asks me, I'll go, first of all, how old are you? Because quite likely you've never even heard of this. And I'm shocked at how many people were born after we started?
Who's younger than 25?
Okay, get out.
All right, go to hell.
No, wait, actually, come to our booths.
Yes, come
Right.
to our booths.
Well, I want to surprise you, gentlemen, because prior to you coming out, we did take an informal poll, and we asked how many people have played a Metal Gear game, specifically a Metal Gear Solid game. Every hand. Guys, show them. Everybody that's played. There you go.
No. Amazing.
These are your people. So
Wow. That's awesome.
Brings me to another question I want to ask you, and it's kind of a chicken and the egg kind of question here. So, with particular regard to voice acting, what came first? Did you just discover that you were naturally good at it and said, "Hey, I can parlay this into a career, and I can do something useful with it"? Or did it come to pass that you were like, "Hey, I'd really love to get into voice acting. Let me try to get the skills and the chops to do it"? How did that come to pass?
Well, let me tell you, it's a long and sordid tale. But I'll try to make it short. I started doing impressions as a kid and loved impressions, did impressions of impressionists' impressions, loved cartoons, comics, the whole nine, entertainment, TV, radio, film, music, probably just like these fellas. And it wasn't until I was out of university and I saw a course for something called voice acting. You gotta understand, back then, nobody knew it was even a career. So I took the class, I moved out to LA, and then there was an animation voice acting class through Bob Bergen, who happens to be the voice of the Porky Pig. And he said, you can do this. There's a career for commercial voice acting and animation at the time, pre-video game, pre-anime. And I thought, I'll give it a shot, maybe. And back then, if you would have said to someone, I'm a voice actor, they would have had no idea what you were talking about.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was the same as Quinton. I grew up doing like dialects and accents, and I had studied acting since I was 9 years old, and so I'd sort of developed this voice, the ability to speak across a room and that sort of thing. And then I lived in Japan, was going to high school in Kobe when I was 16. A Japanese video game company came to our school and said, we need 4 guys who speak English to do video game voices. And I happened to be one of them, and so I went out and I did it, and it was so fun that I was like, oh, I want to do that for the rest of my life. And so I started doing like English language voice tapes and anything I could record. And when I moved out to Hollywood, it just sort of naturally came together that I would do voices and all of that.
For a lot of the folks that came up when we came up, many of us, and I don't know to what extent you guys, we kind of stepped backwards, like, oh, what is that? Oh, it's a career in voiceover.
Yeah.
Most of us were actors, and like you're going like, well, that's not working out. What other arenas are there to pursue? Growing up, I'd watch cartoons, and that's the end of it. I mean, it was Saturday, now let's go out and play, but I never, I have so many folks who, they come up to us and go, I want to do voices, and I'm like, it never occurred to me who was the voice of, fill in the blank character. So it's fascinated, but when I talk to a lot of the people that you've grown up with, that you followed, we were all on our way to do something else within the industry, and then someone went, hey, come here. Have I got a career for you? You know, and so it was a wonderful accident for many of us, not something we were pursuing. But like you were saying, when I was a kid, I had this will age me, my reel-to-reel tape recorder, and see, nothing.
How about cassettes?
Nothing.
Well, then cassettes, yeah.
And I would interview my family and my friends, and you know.
Yeah.
And so, did voices as a kid, but not knowing that it might, go someplace.
And if I can add, I'm sure you would agree, making fun of teachers, making fun of friends, making fun of siblings.
Don't do that, guys.
Yeah.
Or do it and get a career. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of how it happened, and just mimicking, like parrots, and it was fun, and it still is.
And I used to have a little tape recorder, and I'd do like radio shows. And
Me too.
So just when I was 6 years old, or 5 years old, I've got tapes of me doing radio shows and interviewing my mother, my friends, or whatever. And so it's just a natural thing. 5 years old.
Cam and I did a series at 3.
Yeah. In fact,
I did a recording in the womb.
Actually, no,
that was pretty popular.
My first impersonations were on my family's TV show in 1965. I'm 6 years old, doing Alfred Hitchcock, good evening, and Jimmy Durante, there's random, ha-cha-cha, everybody wants to get into the, and this, so.
Coming out of a 6-year-old's mouth, thinking, though, it sounded like a 65-year-old man, right?
Yeah, so I'm this big going, ha-cha-cha, everybody wants to get into... Again, nobody even knows who he is. Jimmy Durante. Anyone?
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Calabash,
Definitely.
There you go, yeah.
It's awesome.
So that leads me into asking this question. What were some of your biggest influences or the people that inspired you to get into acting, or not just voice acting, but like you just said, because you kind of walked into it, but what inspired you? Who inspired you, whether it was family, other artists, other actors? Who was it for you?
Gene Wilder from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Young Frankenstein, big hero,
Yes.
at least for me, What are you doing? Stop it! Applaud more! More! The Beatles, Jerry Lewis, Spider-Man, you name it, Michael Caine, you guys, come on.
Well, I mean, as far as voices go, I mean, we all knew Mel Blanc growing up, and we'd watch the Looney Tunes cartoons, and I was always amazed by his range and mastery of the whole thing, so that was pretty inspiring. No, you're not a fan?
No, not so much.
Well, he'll catch on. But it was watching Raiders of the Lost Ark when I was 12. Like, the moment they saw him climbing onto the U-boat is the moment where the electricity ran up my spine, and I was like, whatever they're doing, that's what I want to do. So I owe a lot to Spielberg and Harrison Ford as the inspiration to change my entire life.
What about you, Cam?
Well, sorry, but I've been doing this on my own since I was 6, so I kind of didn't know how to do anything else, and I just kind of followed in the footsteps of my mom and my dad.
Okay.
My mom's such an amazing singer, and my dad, who did all those campy monster movies in the 1950s. It was just kind of the family business.
Which is great.
So, what is that expression? Nepotism?
Yeah.
He's a Nepo baby.
He's a Nepo baby.
I knew it.
You're canceled. Kidding.
Oh, speaking of canceled, speaking of doing a little radio show, one of my favorite characters on television, there was a show called Mod Squad.
Yes.
It was 3 hippie cops, and Lincoln Hayes was this black guy with this big fro and never took his dark glasses off. So today I wouldn't be able to do what I did in my bedroom then, which was my talk show was being Lincoln Hayes. I was the host of my talk show. You know, and so at 11 years old, I'm this little white boy pretending I'm this hip, groovy black dude who's hosting a radio show. There's a, you know.
You're still doing that.
I'm still doing that.
Yeah. I met the gentleman, was it Michael, the actor, who played, was the other third along with...
Yeah, who played Pete?
Yes. I'm blanking, but wonderful guy. And who's the blonde?
Peggy Lipton.
Peggy Lipton, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, such a crush on her.
Yes. Give it up, take it off. What?
What?
In other news, so what are some of the things you like the most about your job, and what are some of the things you like the least?
Wow. Who wants to start on that?
Not much not to like. I enjoy my job quite a bit. I mean, what do I like most about it? What I like most about it is meeting people who were inspired by something you did, and that, you know, it inspired them to take a risk or to pursue their dreams, or to not be so intimidated by the world. You know, I get a lot of people who were inspired by Snake or the X-Men movies or what have you, and that to me is the most worthwhile thing about the business. Then the money, I like that a lot. That's pretty fun if you want to have like a pool or something, because that can get pricey. I like traveling around the world. I love meeting all you people. I love being on location. Really, the only thing I don't like about it is the flying. I do a lot of flying and a lot of airports, and that's sort of a pain in the ass. But apart from that,
Ooh, someone gets to fly. Ooh.
yes. Well,
Being
exactly.
a success is hard.
Being a success is difficult, and you got to find ways to store your money, and oh my God, it's just a constant. And then you know, the other worst part is all these people coming up saying you're awesome and you're amazing, and I'm like, yeah, go to hell.
One of the
No,
things,
there is nothing to not like about my job. It's pretty great.
one of the things I liked best was when about 15 years ago, Rob Paulson put a gun to my head to say, you've got to do this thing, these Comic-Cons. I went, they're too hard. And had it not because he really pushed for the Ford Turtles, which we go out a lot together, to check out this world. And I was like, but had it not been for him getting me in there, but this invention of this weird Comic-Con world, we would not know that we still have, speaking for myself, that I have relevance, that Turtles, as big as it was, or Metal Gear, without this environment, it would be something wonderful on my resume from 100 years ago. Something I was proud of, but, you know, from way back when, had no idea of the organic shelf life of a lot of the titles. And that's because of you guys and inviting us to these things. It's just like, I had no idea.
Well, we are glad you're here. Absolutely.
So how does it feel to be icons in voice acting, and how does it also feel when you have fellow voice actors that have come to any three of you and said you were the biggest influence for them into the world of voice acting or even acting?
Is that a trick question?
I like throwing questions to make you think, to make you want to say, what? But how does it feel when people come up to you that are like now doing it and saying, you know, you were a reason why I got into voice acting, why I became successful? How does that feel?
Good. It's pretty good.
Nice.
I'm still waiting for someone to do that.
Oh, I got into it because of Cam Clarke.
I
So
get it
There
all
we
the-
go.
I get it
There
all
we
the
go.
you're an icon, you two.
All the time.
It's really cool. I had lunch with a guy named Yong Ye There you go. And he had started, I didn't really realize this, but he had started as a YouTuber, and I guess I was his first interview. He was like, would you let me interview you? And I said, sure. And so I did it, and that kind of kicked off his show. And now, it's 3-4 years later, and he's got all these voice credits, and he's done all these things. We had lunch, and he's like, it's all because of you, man. Like, I hope that's true, but so I'm speaking for him, but it's super cool. It's amazing when you can inspire somebody to go into a fulfilling career and they make it work. I mean, that's the real thing. I mean, as far as being an icon, you know, that kind of comes and goes, and you know, if people don't recognize you at a restaurant, you still get treated the same way. So, so it's just nice when you've affected somebody's life and they're able to do something that makes them happy. You can't beat that.
Your turn, Brian.
So yeah, we just wanted to give you an opportunity real quick to just kind of give us a little bit of background about your experience making the Metal Gear games, how you got into it, what you think the legacy is.
Feedback. Get that feedback?
So sorry. Oh, yeah.
There's
Weird.
feedback. Somebody, you guys want to handle that? I don't want to have to come out and kick your ass.
You know, I'm going to move over here.
I will.
Hey, guys. You don't mind, right? I mean,
I'm
we're all
thirsty.
friends.
You guys have any water? Does anybody out there have any water? Seriously, I don't know about these two, but I'd like some water.
I don't need
Can
water.
we get a water on stage for the gentleman, please?
I'm on
There we go.
fire up here.
There you go.
And if it's
Preferably one
lace,
that you haven't
that's
started.
fine. Thank you.
Oh, they're getting it for you.
Listen to the applause for
Liquid.
Quinton Flynn, roofied in Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's the beginning of a sitcom. Snake! I see you.
Now it's
I
my
see
turn
you.
to hydrate you.
You were the hydration in that rain.
So you
I've
guys,
forgotten what the question was.
I'm so sorry. Can you guys hear me okay now?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think it was
So-
their
yeah, just-
feedback.
Yeah, wanted to just give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about Metal Gear and your experience, what the impact was for you, what the legacy is. You know, give us a little bit of background story about it. Anything you guys want to talk about.
Well, I'll start because Cam doesn't remember much about it, and then I want to hear how Raiden came into it. So I was, my first voiceover job in LA, I was on Captain Planet. And I played this Russian planeteer. I had these Russian accent. I speak like this.
David Coburn, Captain Planet.
Yes, there you go. There you go. And so that was my first job. And the casting director on that was Chris Zimmerman, who 5 years later would be directing all of the English language versions of Metal Gear. And so Chris brought me in, although there's some argument that Jennifer Hale recommended me. So she takes credit for me being Snake. And thank you. And that's how it started. And we went, you know, I auditioned for it and then got the part. And then we went down and we recorded in this weird house in Hollywood that wasn't even a sound stage. We just recorded in some living room. Made the game in 10 days. And then it came out, was a massive hit. And then here we are 25 years later.
10 days.
10 days for the first game.
That doesn't seem like a lot of time.
No, 9 months for Metal Gear 4. So each
Wow.
script got increasingly epic and huge. So how did you become Raiden?
I auditioned.
Oh, it's a good story.
I was doing.
Snappy tail.
I was playing. It was massive. Awesome.
Jennifer Hale tried to keep me from auditioning. Yes.
Jennifer did?
She is the kingmaker.
She used to keep you?
No, well, no.
I didn't understand.
He said she used to keep me from.
You see, comedy.
Should we keep you from auditioning?
It doesn't matter.
Anyway, I love these guys. They're like Chippendale, right? Am I right? Okay. So I was doing Johnny in the Real Adventures of Johnny Quest. Come on, Dad, we got to go find Bandit. And I finished that series. That was with Chris Zimmerman. And as David mentioned, they did the Metal Gear. And so they were going for Metal Gear Solid 2. And she said, Quinton, come in, audition for this character. He's not as young as Johnny, but he is a rookie. He's kind of earnest, so age him up a little, but not too much. And you know, just go with it. Just be your natural self. And fortunately, I booked it. So there you go. I wasn't ready for naked cartwheeling Raiden, but yeah, part of the job. That's what they pay me for, right?
Yeah, I wasn't prepared to come back as an elbow. And yet, there are no small body parts
Is that true?
There are no small body parts in acting.
That's right. David said this is, everybody knows this, but I only heard it for the first time when we did this little photo shoot. Chris told us, the director, Chris Zimmerman, that when she was hired for the series, they gave her a list of people that they wanted her to read. Am I telling this correctly? And she said, okay, but you must give me, I'll do that if you give me 20 slots also on the audition roster. She told us a couple months ago that of the 20 people she brought in, 19 of them were hers, which is how the three of us were there. We were not on the call originally. The people that you're enjoying in the game, so whatever that is, 99.9% of the characters you've enjoyed were because she said, okay, I just got a thing I need to bring, I just want to bring these, other folks in. I'm not a gamer, so I was on a cruise in the Baltic. And if you've ever been on a cruise ship, you kind of have assigned seats sometimes, and you're sitting with strangers, and it's, so what do you do for a living? And I mentioned,
I will never be on a cruise ship.
And I was sitting with this British family at my table, and what do you do? Oh, I do this thing called voiceovers, and so this was 24 years ago or whatever. And I said, I don't know if you've heard this, because you're from England, this thing is called Metal Gear Solid, and their teenage son went overboard with finding out who I was, and I had no idea that it had an appeal that big. So wonderful and awesome and shocking.
Yes, it's a global thing. I've been everywhere around the world. Yes, because of Metal Gear and people like you. And I'll keep doing it too. You can't stop me.
So, Brian, before you ask your next question, because I know you got a good question coming up, we want some of the fans out here to get ready to get in line behind the mic. Now, we're going to be in the next 10 more minutes, we're going to have you guys ask questions. Make sure they're sensible questions, not crazy questions, because we know how crazy questions can be. We want to make sure that you ask the question, be precise, so they can answer it right away, so we can move on to the next person, okay? And make sure it's one good question. Not yet, though. We're going to let you know when.
And,
Brian.
and just one question, so everybody can have a chance.
Yes. Brian, you ready to ask that question we talked about?
Yeah, just real quick. Okay, so big question here. I have to know. Do you guys have a favorite line of dialogue from your Metal Gear Solid characters? And if so, what is it? And totally feel free to, do it in character.
Yeah, cut loose.
If you feel so
whatever.
obliged.
Yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Well,
Turtle power. No, sorry, wrong show.
Nice.
Did you like my sunglasses? You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
should I say what I usually
The lightning in the rain, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know what I have. I will say, I don't have a favorite line, but the fans do. And so one of them is, I am lightning, the rain transformed.
Dope.
I think my favorite is, I'm no hero. Never was, never will be. I'm just an old killer hired to do some wet work.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So now, I'm going to come down in a minute, but we're going to make sure that everyone gets a chance to ask a question. My friend, you go first. Ask away. Yep.
Okay. My question is, it's kind of for all of you. With Metal Gear Solid 2, there was the big controversy of how Raiden was the main playable character instead of Snake. And,
Spoiler alert.
yeah, and how Raiden was so hated. What was your reactions to all that, to when you saw that in the script?
We recorded the game in order. So we did the tanker incident first, and it was, standard Metal Gear, and I'm being a badass, and it's all about me. Then we switched to the next part of the game, and I had just met Quinton, and I was like, welcome to the game, kid. I'm sort of the, the big player around here. And we started recording, and he started telling the player what buttons to press and all this stuff. And I'm like, hey, why is he telling the player what buttons to press? That's my job. And they were like, oh no, in this part of the game, you're not the player. It's he's the player. And I was like, I don't care for that. But then I got it, and of course, Quinton's awesome and came in, was great. And I got that I was playing the cranky mentor, and I was all right with it. It was fine. I've been much more humiliated as an actor and a writer every day since. So it was all right. It worked out.
I would just add that David's animosity was palpable. No, I did see him as a mentor, and he knew a lot more than I did. So he did guide me in the recording sessions. And I will just add that David and I did record together. Prior to that, he was Captain America, I was the Human Torch.
That's
we
right.
were in the Secret Wars in Spider-Man. You're welcome.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was awesome.
So.
Okay. I want to say it's great to see y'all here, and I was wondering, do y'all have any funny stories when recording the Metal Gear games?
Do you have any funny stories from recording the Metal Gear games?
Yeah.
There's a moment in Metal Gear 4 where Snake has accelerated aging. He's 35, but he's starting to look 70. And he's being examined by Dr. Naomi. And it's really her fault that I'm aging in the first place. But anyway, point is, she's like, take off your sneaking suit so I can examine you. So Snake takes off his suit, so he's naked. And her reaction in the script was, oh, Snake. And I'm like, hey. I look all right, like this. And she goes, so we just start improvising. And Jennifer goes, you're so shriveled, and that nearly ended up on the voice track because the tracks get sent to Japan and the people listening to it don't speak English, so they don't know when we're kidding and we're not. And there was a moment where Raiden was talking to Rose, I think, and he's like, Rose, don't make me tell you again, bitch. And that also almost ended up on the track. So we were informed we have to be very, very careful about how we joke around on the mic.
Good question.
That's usually how I hook up with women.
I think one of the funniest things that I found, because someone said, have you seen this thing they've done online with Liquid? And I went, what's that? Some of you know I've recorded a couple of albums singing, and one of the songs I covered was I Will Survive. Who knows that song? Okay, yeah. Well, I kind of slowed it down. First I was afraid, I was petrified. This kind of thing. Someone, who here has seen Liquid singing I Will Survive? Okay, y'all got to plug in those words. It's hilarious. Someone took footage, so there's Liquid going, go on now, go, walk out the door. Just using the footage from the game and syncing my singing to it. It's hilarious. Enjoy.
All right. So, how involved was Kojima in the development of the game and on your end?
Kojima, everybody asked me, someone asked me this morning, or this afternoon, what's it like working with Hideo Kojima? And my response is, I have no idea. Kojima doesn't work on the English language version of the game. He does the game in Japan, it gets sent over, and Chris Zimmerman becomes the director, and we do it just on our own. So Kojima has visited a few times. I've met him, I think, 3 times. He's very quiet, strange person, little red shoes at one point. He had little red shoes, if that helps.
Ooh, Red Shoe Diaries.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, so I don't know the man, barely had any contact with him.
All right. Good question. Going up?
In
Hello,
fact, it was
gentlemen.
you that asked me, wasn't it, Anthony?
No.
Didn't
And-
you ask me what it was like to work with Kojima?
No, I did
Oh,
not.
I thought it was
Thank
you.
you for
Anyway,
remembering
sorry.
my name.
It's so funny because he had me over to his house for dinner, me and Quinton,
Yeah.
all the time.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Was I not supposed to say that?
And I love all the pictures of him hanging out with Kiefer Sutherland. And I'm like, oh, those guys look like such close friends.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm glad that they were brought together.
The cherry pie that he makes is just to die for.
So I have a question for you guys, mainly for you, David, or maybe for all three of you.
Maybe.
Maybe.
So first off, you guys are a big part of my childhood. I was 3 years old when the first Metal Gear came out. Been in love with them ever since.
Thank you.
So my question for all of you, but mainly for you, David, how would you feel going back, or if they had a DLC of Metal Gear Solid 2 where you got to play the plant chapter as Snake's point of view? I know they had Snake Tales, but how do you think that would have been if they did a DLC add-on for Snake's point of view of the chapter?
Sorry, if they did a DLC where Snake was the player character and...
Where you got to play on the big shell from Snake's point of view rather
Oh.
than Raiden's.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, anytime I get to play Snake or go back to Metal Gear, I'd be happy to do it. I mean, the experience, the original game, you experience it with Raiden, and I think that's pretty badass, but I guess, and then would Raiden become my mentor? Or how do we even work that out?
Well, just seeing what you were up to, like what Snake was up to at the big show.
Oh, I see. To see what Snake's doing behind the scenes. I think that'd be awesome. That'd be badass. I'd do it. I also feel like I'm a much older actor now, and I feel like I've got more experience with it. I feel like I could be subtler and better in some ways. So yeah, it'd be very cool to have that experience. I'd
Okay.
play it as a fan. I would love that.
Awesome. Thank you. And real quick, can you guys do a liquid and a snake, please?
No.
You don't have to.
It costs money. Go get in line, you son of a gun.
Now this one's on the house.
Liquid! Snake!
Thank you, guys.
Before the next question, just a quick question here, because since you just did that just now, I have to ask you, how much time were you given and what was your preparation in like fleshing out the sound of your characters? Were you given like a lot of specific guidance, or did they just say, okay, how does it sound?
They sent us to this training camp.
No, if you are successful in what we do, and you're looking at 3 kids who have been, one of the things, and I can't necessarily take credit, it's kind of part of the talent, is can you improv? How are you with improvisation, and how are you with a thing they call cold reading, which means somebody hands you a script, can you read it? We would have, on any given audition, my call time for my audition is 2 o'clock. I show up at 1:30, or depending on how many rolls, quarter after 1, and I just go, pencil, 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 zabba, 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 za. And you've made a little choice, but it's what we did every day. So it was kind of a machine. So prep, it's not like regular actors, at least for me. It was not that kind of, you go home and you da-da-da-da. It was all, you don't even know what you're reading for most of the time until you show up. And then it's a thing with the director where they might even do where you're reading something, and for all I know, I was reading, Solid, and they went, but hold on, hang on. Try this. So many times we've been cast for things because we weren't turning in what they liked for something, or they just went, I'm thinking of him for that. So not a lot of big time prep, kind of just on the fly.
Feel the same way?
Yeah.
Well, yes, that is all true. My experience though on Metal Gear was a little different, which I'm glad of. Most of the time, like when you hear us doing the game, typically that's the first time we're seeing the line. When you hear us do it, you're hearing the first, second, maybe third take of us reading it the first time. But with the first Metal Gear, I had auditioned just with my voice, which when I was younger sounded like this. So I would say, like cocky fighter pilot sort of guy. And then they sent me the script, which they never did again. But they sent it to me in advance, and I started reading it. It was this big. I mean, it was just a stack of papers. But in the very beginning, they were like, he's already retired, and he doesn't want to come back. And he's already a legend, and all this stuff has clearly happened to him. And I thought, this voice is too young for this guy.
Kind of like David in real life at the time.
I was a cocky kid with an easy life and felt pretty good about myself. But so when I was reading it, I was like, this guy needs to have been over some bad road, and he needs to have history and weight to his voice. And so it started to become this. And so this is the voice I started recording with. And halfway through the first day, Chris was like, can I play you the voice you auditioned with? And so she did. And I'm like, yeah, I just didn't think it was right. And I was like, do you want to redo it? And she said, no, I think this is working. And I said, yeah, me too. And so that's how it happened. And I was, so I was lucky enough to get advance notice, which is almost unheard of, on this voice, and I was able to develop it properly.
I'd just like to take it one step further to the process, as David just illustrated. When I was doing Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, I have no idea what you said, but thank you. We were doing 8-hour sessions with an hour break for lunch, and the pages would come in, and we would look, one page and the next half go. Page, next half, go. So there was, very little prep time. It was learn as you go, do as you go, and do what I tell you. And then I say, no, I'll do as I tell me. I'm a huge star, F you. So the cool thing about that, though, is we got to interact, the gentleman who played Armstrong was great. Phil Lamar came back as Kevin when he had been Vamp in Metal Gear Solid 4. Just terrific to be able to work with these other actors, because in doing so, different things are popping up in the moment. It's not unlike doing a play or improvisational acting, but yet with a script. So we had to make it all come together and come alive. It's a real skill. It's a real talent. It's a real treat. Thanks for your question. Now go sit down.
I just want to say that the reason that is because we recorded the first Metal Gear all together like a radio play, and it was so much fun that every time we negotiated a new deal, I insisted that the actors be with me in the booth, so that we'd always have like 5 chairs set up, and for months I'll record the games, and then the greatest voice actors in the world would come in and do scenes with me, and it was pretty badass, and it really adds a whole life to it. And you bond a lot more playing the scenes together, and it sounds a lot better.
More organic. It's honest. It's authentic.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hello. Good to see you again, David and Quinton. Haven't seen you since before the plague.
I couldn't hear you. What'd you say, buddy?
Oh, I haven't seen you since before. Well, last time I saw you was in New York Comic Con 2016, and then David, you were at Retro Gaming Con in 2019, so I didn't see you before the plague.
New York Comic.
New York Comic Con?
Yeah, 2016.
Oh, yeah, 2016. That was awesome.
Yeah.
We met then. That's great.
Yeah.
I loved it. That was huge. You guys ever been there? A show of applause?
I've never been.
I was 2 years in a row. It was fantastic. I'd go back in a New York minute.
Yeah.
Oh, see how he did that?
And I wasn't even going for the joke, but the pun, so much fun. Well, it's nice to meet you and see you again. Come by the booth,
Yeah.
Bring an iced tea. We'll sit down and we'll break bread.
We'll have shrimp.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll have shrimp.
I have a friend who we're basically best friends. We met in school. Huge Zelda fan, huge Kingdom Hearts fan. He's sent me memes of Metal Gear Solid games. He's never played them. In your own words, what would you like for him to expect when he plays them for the first time this October on his Switch? What are you hoping he experiences when he plays them for the first time?
I have no idea. You know what? I'll be honest. I had trouble hearing you because of this,
Smoke,
and I have tinnitus. So
Hey,
So
Smoke,
I think I heard you that your friend has only seen memes of Metal Gear,
Yeah.
and he's going to play the actual game. And how do you think he's going to react to that? Scenario?
He hasn't played them before ever.
Wow, you got that out of that? I've got your ears. I'm
right.
having trouble hearing.
So how is who going to react? Your friend playing the game after seeing the memes?
played it. He's only seen memes.
Right. So he's only seen the memes.
Only the memes.
And
Yeah.
well, is he going to play the game in order, or is he going to start at the end and go back to the beginning?
I'm hoping in order. I mean, I've been playing them in order all my life, and
Yeah.
I've told him sung praises about it.
I mean, I think he's
so-
going to dig it. I think everything's going to fall into place when he starts playing the game. I think he's going to become addicted. You're going to have to put him in a padded cell. You're never going to see your friend again. Never. It's a tragic story.
And I think it will enrich his appreciation of the memes even further.
That's what I'm saying.
And thank you. And
Thank you.
Also, David, good luck with your new video game on July 4th, Synapse.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that.
Hi. So my cousin is a really big Metal Gear Solid fan. I wanted to see if you would all say happy birthday to him in your character voices.
Sure. Can we say what is your friend's name?
Theo.
Sam?
Theo.
Seal?
Theo.
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 Theo. I know, Grandpa over here. I'm like, what the hell? What's his name? Seal? I love Seal.
The older we get, the longer these questions take. Yeah, Theo, listen, I understand it's your birthday, and age hasn't slowed you down one bit. So have a great one. Snake out.
Theo, I'd wish you a happy birthday, but I could give a flying that it is your birthday. It's all about my birthday. So I'll be looking for your birthday wishes to me.
Theo, Raiden, I've seen you in the Greek islands, and I love your salad. And your dressing. Happy birthday. Keep your clothes on.
Thank you.
Hey guys.
Hey.
First of all, I just want to say, like, thank you all so much for your work. Like, you've had a huge influence on me, and I really admire what you guys do.
I'm sorry, because of the people back here, you really gotta
Gotcha.
lean into it.
I'll turn up.
Lean into it.
Yeah, eat the mic.
I just wanted to say, like, thank you guys so much for your work. I really admire what you do. Your work has had a huge influence on me personally. I just wanted to open with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to pretend I can't hear him just to hear him say it again.
I'll say it as many times as you want, Cam.
You're welcome.
But, I mean, I guess this question is mainly for David, and I'm surprised nobody
It's
here has called it.
always David, David, David.
Right, going down on David. It's a new series.
Classic
Listen.
David.
You've got to give the people what they want.
Classic David.
Right.
How does it feel to be back, man? Like, with the whole Snake Eater remake coming out, what's going on there? And welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, thank you. Well, actually, that's true for all of us because they're going to do, they're doing the remastered Snake Eater game, but they're also re-releasing Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear 2. I just think it's so... the bummer for me about video games is it's not like a movie. You watch a great movie, you can watch it again and again for your entire life. As soon as a great video games console is obsolete, it disappears and you can't get it. So like a great album, like a great film, I'm so glad that these games are coming back for a new generation. People will be able to appreciate it because they're so badass and the work we put in was so heartfelt. And so I'm very grateful that Konami is doing that, and I hope there's a whole new generation of people that dig it and find out who Cam and Liquid and Raiden and what's your name, Quinton are.
I agree.
Hopefully so.
Do you gentlemen have a favorite Metal Gear Solid game?
For me, it's...
He likes 2.
I like 2, yeah. I like 2, I like 4, and I like Revengeance.
I think my favorite is Snake Eater. and I'm going to guess what Cam's is. Metal Gear Solid.
My favorite Metal Gear game is
Snake
where,
versus Monkey.
is where Solid is working in a fast food joint, and I pull up and tell him, don't quit your day job. My favorite
That was a good one.
MGS thing is when David and I tell Christmas stories together.
Yes, if you haven't seen, Google The Night Before Metal Gear or Liquid Grinch, and there's some Metal Gear satiric goodness there to be had.
Go for it. Go right on the mic.
I have no idea about that, but it sounds awesome. Honestly, for me, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, only because we got into the comedic element where Raiden decides he's going to blend in with a particular community. So he goes into a shop, he gets a sombrero and a poncho, and says, I'll blend in. They'll never recognize me. And on the way out, he says, adios, amigos. In those bitchin' Bowie high-heeled shoes.
Right?
So briefly, did you, just briefly for you, Mr. Hayter, did you
Again, you're going to need to speak into it like this, or we can't hear you.
just briefly for you, Mr. Hayter, did you actually have to swallow a cigarette to get Snake's voice right?
I had to eat a whole pack of cigarettes. I was like, this doesn't seem to be helping my voice. Then Kojima's like, just eat it. No, I did not eat. I told some interviewer back in the day that to get the Snake voice, I had to smoke a pack of cigarettes and drink a bottle of whiskey, and that's not true. I mean, that's just optional. But I don't want. I had like 2 people in Pennsylvania 2 weeks ago telling me that they started smoking because of me, and I'm like, don't do that.
I do
Smoking is
remember
terrible.
there were times.
I took up crack cocaine because of you, David. A little crystal meth.
That was more of a social thing.
Yeah.
I do remember David chewing on shards of glass.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But nobody's as brave as David is here, so easy.
All right, guys, we only have a couple quick minutes left here. We're going to wrap up a couple last questions here. What you got for us?
This one's for David Hayter.
Of course it is.
For Metal Gear Solid 5.
No.
Did you?
Next.
I'm not familiar with that one. No. It's okay. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if you chose not to
No.
voice Snake, or was the voice
I would never
chosen?
choose not to not to play anything really, but particularly Snake. No, I went in. I was at the recording studio where we recorded Metal Gear 4, and I ran into a Metal Gear producer, and I was like, "So I understand you're doing Metal Gear 5. Like, should we start discussing the deal?" And he said, "No, we won't be needing you on this one." And so that's. I know. That's how I felt. So that was the whole story.
I mean, the fans just spoke for me, so.
It's a what?
The fans just spoke for me. It's a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame, but that's how it happened.
Thank you.
I had a similar thought about Radanovich. Like, what was that about?
Radanovich?
No, like Raiden Radanovich. Wasn't he in Metal Gear 3? We'll talk about it amongst ourselves.
Somebody come up to my table and explain that to me. But yeah.
Charlie Schlaughter, right?
There you go.
I love Charlie. Anyway.
So this one's actually for all 3 of you. If you could play a character that wasn't the character you played in Metal Gear, who would you want to play?
You mean in the same game?
I guess just anyone in the series. Like if you
In the
could
Metal
be-
Gear world?
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
I mean, you don't mean like Pikachu?
No, yeah, Metal Gear wise, yeah.
Okay.
But I would pay to see that.
Yeah. I you know what? Honestly, after all is said and done, I would enjoy playing the Senator. Yeah, it's a rich role.
If I had it to do over, I would play Ariel.
You'd be great.
because of great tie-in, a Little Mermaid.
I want to be where the people are.
I want to go where the people go. Under the sea.
They're just kidding. They would rather play Snake. I would be Gray Fox, because he's the only person more badass than Snake, as far as I'm concerned.
So hey guys, yeah, we're running out of time here. Unfortunately, I had about 500 other questions I wanted to ask, and I know you guys did too. But you guys were a great audience. We appreciate the questions.
Thank you so much, guys, for the great questions and for the support and for being Metal Gear fans. And please come to our tables, and we'd love to meet you all.
So let's give it up one more time, guys. We are Past the Controller. We want to give it up one more time for Quinton Flynn, Clarke, and of course David Hayter. Thank you guys. We love you. We love your work. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
And thank you guys. This was a great show.
It was
Well
our
done.
pleasure. Thank you all.
Thank you, gentlemen.